come from the east and they were all adry. They made a vow, a solemn vow, John Barleycorn should die. They ploughed the land, they laid him down, put pots upon his head. And there they sang around his grave, John Barleycorn is dead. Then once into the ground he lay and rain began to fall. The sun shone on, they left him there till he were growing tall. They hired some men with sickles sharp to cut him at the knee. With forks and prongs they stabbed his heart and bled him bitterly. Oh, John Barleycorn, death to the ancient corn god. Oh, John Barleycorn, cut down for the earth. Oh, John Barleycorn, death to the ancient corn god. Oh, John Barleycorn, cut down for the earth. Then from the field they packed him up and took him in a cart. And with great sticks they beat his bones till flesh did fall apart. They threw John Barleycorn into the kiln to roast his bones. But worst of all, the miller crushed his head between two stones. They put him in the mashing tuns and scored him through and through. But Barleycorn ran out below and he became strong brew. So sing this song and fill your pints of poor John Barleycorn. Was for our thirst he gave his life and now he'll be reborn. Oh, John Barleycorn, death to the ancient corn god. Oh, John Barleycorn, cut down for the earth. Oh, John Barleycorn, death to the ancient corn god. Oh, John Barleycorn.
Good evening and welcome to another Blizzard Comedy Musical Showcase where we take a deep dive into new music from interesting and talented artists across the genre spectrum that share our values and ethos and are just making really cool shit that we want to share with you. This time we're joined by our very own Kirsty's band, Cruel Mother, which feels appropriate mere weeks after we looked at Daughter's debut EP. Continuing our trend of promoting bands exclusively named after feminine familial members. If anyone's in a band called Supportive Aunt or Diabolical Niece or Good Lord You've Got a Fit Grandma, hit us the fuck up. First conceived 2 years ago, which feels a bit young for a mother, but there we go. Quill Mother take the very simple yet brilliant concept of reimagining traditional folk songs in a stone and doom metal style, applying English folk horror to Black Sabbath-esque riffage and Corpicani bounce in a combination that is just perfect together. And we'll just hear how perfect in a bit as we preview their debut EB, Cut Down for the Earth, which releases tomorrow for purchase and streaming. I'll pop the links in the chat now and throughout, and if you're watching on the YouTube VOD, the link will be in the description. See if I can remember what the command is. There we are, and the socials for Cruel Mother in the chat, so do go give them a follow and save the EP if you haven't already. Without further ado, let's welcome Kirsty and the other peoples whose names I've not memorised yet. I'm so sorry. Here we go. Here they are, and also our camera frames are the same size, but there's like 5 of them, so I just look massive. So didn't think this through. How are you all doing?
Hello. But then we cut off. Hello.
It's great to be here.
Yeah. Lovely to see you. Lovely to meet all of you apart from Kirsty, because I've already met you several times. Hello. How are you doing? Are you excited for tomorrow's launch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it seems like it's been a bit of a while coming because we recorded it back in September. Well, on and off between September and December. It was a bit of a drawn out process.
Yeah.
So it's exciting for it to finally be out in its kind of complete form.
Fantastic, yeah, and tomorrow that is very soon. Given our history of waffling on this stream, there's a good chance it will be out before this stream is over. So feel free to say that. But we will be previewing some of the tracks, so you can listen to them a few hours early. So that'll be lovely. Right. I guess. Well, first of all, I've not met most of you, so should we do like a little really awkward like work round table so you introduce yourselves?
Job.
Yeah.
Wish I had boss. Start with James.
Hi. My name's James. I play guitar and I do most of the singing. That's probably all you need, right? Do you want anything else? Do you want like a fun fact? You're not getting a fun fact.
No, you're getting a fun fact.
We're not doing
I refuse to do
icebreakers.
icebreakers. Please keep it as awkward as possible. That'd be great.
Thank you. Excellent. We can work with awkward.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm David. I'm the violinist. I wear a silly hat on stage. And
He said no fun facts.
That's sort of a very common thing.
Yeah.
Those are the two instruments, violin and funny hat. Those are...
Yeah, violin and funny hat.
Yeah.
Two important parts of it. It's two crucial parts of it. Cool. Stage show, sure.
Hi, so I'm Becky and I play bass and I do some of the backing vocals with James, and I kind of came up with the concept and the style, and I write the songs.
Fantastic. So it's basically your fault that we're all here today. Thanks very much for that.
I'm sorry about that. Sorry for dragging everyone away from their Thursday night revelry to watch this stream.
Yeah. I'm Dan, and I hit things.
What are you doing in the band, Dan?
I mean, I feel like
we all know
everyone
you.
knows me, but
in the context of the band.
For the sake of joining in, I'm Kirsty and I do the rhythm guitar.
Fantastic! Thanks all so much for coming on. So yeah, I've listened to the whole release for yesterday for the first time, because you sent it to me like a week ago, but I'm very well organised and I only got around to it yesterday. Obviously, being very familiar with the 2 singles at this point, which you've not listened to already. I mean, you're going to hear them very shortly. They're fucking brilliant. Before we even start as well, I just want to say this is fucking brilliant. It is. I mean, I say it combines many of my musical interests. My musical interests are basically everything that isn't overtly Tory. But no, particularly like whether you're a fan of the darker side of English folk music or very kind of early proto metal or the more kind of upbeat and manic folk and power metal, there is something for you here. And I like all of those things, so I'm a very happy bunny today. Also, thank you, Cbox3000, for the new follow, and also there was another new follower who I missed the name of. Thanks very much, I appreciate you there. I don't know if that's just people in the band who are following now, but if not...
It's not.
Oh, amazing, fantastic, thanks so much
That's
for joining.
That's Simon.
possibly
Cyborg.
just friends
Oh,
in the many group chats that I spam
yes,
the
we
stream in as well. So thanks very much for
Yeah.
joining as well. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely phenomenal EP. If before we get into listening properly, how are you feeling about the finished product? Are you excited by it? Was it what you expected?
I think we
tell
might
us
be
the
frozen
process.
on screen.
Say again.
Are we
No.
frozen on
Are
screen?
we all
Yes, we
frozen?
are.
I think we might be frozen.
yeah.
Looks
You're
like we
not,
are.
Jonny, just us.
Oh,
You're
okay.
not. I think it's just us.
That is very
But-
weird. Let me try refreshing.
Yeah,
because
we're not frozen in the Zoom.
Yeah, you're not
Okay.
frozen in the Zoom.
Yeah.
That's very weird. Let me try refreshing the
So it's-
scene. Hopefully that will fix it.
I hope it was a good
Yeah,
freeze
that is
frame.
very.
Yeah, we could have been
Take that
frozen.
one that we can see there.
Yeah.
Could have been a lot worse.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Could have been worse.
Yeah, that is very weird because you're not frozen in the Zoom, so I don't know why that is happening.
Yeah.
Bear with me.
And now we are gone completely.
Oh.
We have returned in the same position that we left.
We could have just tried to convince people we're all just sitting very still for the whole interview.
Quite possibly, yeah. Right, let me
We
try.
don't do.
Let's
Yeah.
try and get rid of you completely. See if that refreshes. You're still frozen. That is very weird. I've never seen that happen
Weird.
before. Right, I might break.
Well, it's perfect. You wanted some awkward moments.
That's
so,
we've got an awkward
Let's just
moment.
start
Yeah,
off
yeah.
with one
We're
now.
ready to go. Yeah, video static. That is very. I don't know how to explain it because, like, literally on the Zoom, it's not static, and I'm not static, and both me and the band are coming through on from the same Zoom window. So I literally don't know how this is possible. Let's. I'm just going to try a few things.
Okay.
See if we can fix that. Hopefully, it won't break the whole thing. Right.
We'll just sit here and drink mead. It's
No, there we are. I think I fixed it. I think I fixed it. I think I
Oh,
fixed it. We're
we made it,
moving.
yeah.
Cool. I don't know how.
Yay.
I don't know how that
It's the way
happened,
on
but here
TV.
we are.
Oh yeah.
Got it. Hooray.
Cool. Yeah, I see us.
Yay.
Yay.
Cool.
All right. Cool.
I fixed it.
Okay,
Jonny,
could you repeat the question?
Yeah. Well. Yeah. First of all, are you happy with how the album's turned out? Tell us how you're feeling about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of it's a bit of a moment in time for us. I think it was a bit
Sure.
before we'd actually started practicing as regularly as we do now. So I think I'm my own worst critic, and I can definitely I listen to it and I think, oh no, that note was out of time. I played the wrong note, that kind of thing. But I think as a whole, I'm really delighted that we actually we kind of came together, we managed to record it, and I think as a kind of whole EP, I'm really pleased with it. And Dan did an amazing amount of work doing all the recording, all the mixing, and all the mastering.
Good job, Dan.
So if you wonder why all the guitars sound really good and the vocals sound really kind of eerie, then that's all Dan's kind of mastery in production wise. So I think also given the limitations of recording, which was done on essentially a budget of zero, most of it recorded in Dan's bedroom, with some of it in our old kind of rehearsal room in a basement for a couple of afternoons, and that was pretty much it. So we did it within the constraints we had, and I think I'm pretty happy with how it came out based on that. So
Yeah, you absolutely should be. Yeah, that I think I'll probably get into this more when we actually start listening to the tracks. But yeah, one of the things that did stick out with me is how just beautifully eerie the vocals sound and how just atmospheric, and you've absolutely nailed the ambience on it, and I really like that. I only really started listening to the more doom end of metal fairly recently, and I think it's absolutely nailed what I really like about it, which is just that really kind of unsettling, kind of creepy. Yeah, just like
we strive for unsettling and creepy.
Yeah.
I think
I was trying to think of more adjectives.
Unsettling,
than that.
creepy suits murder ballads as a vibe.
It does, yeah, absolutely.
Like you wouldn't
does.
want like an upbeat, jaunty murder ballad.
Yeah.
Well,
Or you
watch
might.
this space.
Bald head, cruel mother mashup.
Oh, that would be sick. I'd be really into that. Right, can we get like a subscriber goal or something? If we get like 200 in this stream, we can just make that happen. Yeah, mate, so have you got any like highlights on the album, or any particular tracks or moments you're particularly pleased with how they turned out?
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, there's only kind of the 5 tracks and the 6th one that
I've lost the sound. Give it a minute, see if it refreshes. Otherwise, we'll just start a track and then we can pick this up afterwards. Oh no, indeed. Yeah, am I still coming through alright? I can't tell if there's a problem with my internet or not. Yeah, that is a particularly rough place to stop. I'll give it like a minute, and then we'll carry on with the first track, and then we can pick this up afterwards. If let's go to it. Oh, there we are. Yep, that's fine. So what I'll do is, we'll go to the first track, and then we'll pick up this conversation afterwards, which is fine. So the first track is "My Name Is Death." We're not to set expectations too low for the rest of the album, as every track is phenomenal, but this I think might be my favourite one. And as we listen to the rest of the album, you'll see what high praise that is. So yeah, I adore this one. We'll go straight into it now, and hopefully we'll all be back in the Zoom afterwards. So the first track is "My Name Is Death." This one's already out as a single. Are we back? Hello, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool, we can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Sorry, we'll be back.
We will be back.
That's fine. I was actually just about to go into the first track while we saw. Oh, here we are. Yeah.
There we are. Hi.
So we definitely plugged the laptop in advance. Something that we absolutely did.
Great technical wizard.
And I didn't just plug this cable in.
No,
It's attached to thin air.
Incredible. Cool. Well, what I was
I
going to
love
say.
that we have like 5 microphones.
So you can see from this that it's actually amazing we recorded anything.
Yeah.
So I think we should get a pat on the back for that.
I feel like
yeah.
I feel like given the level of chaos we've had so far, the fact that we've fully produced an EP is more of a miracle than it already was. And now you're seing the evidence of that.
Yeah. You just see kind of how shambolic it is behind the scenes, and the already excellent EP sounds even better. Bearing that in mind. Cool. Should we go on to the first track while we try to sort out, just get everything back to work?
No, it's okay. We're on the last bit. We'll be here.
We'll be back.
Fantastic. Hello, and we're back. Fantastic. No, it's gone.
Back to you again.
I mean, not that it matters. Like we can see the 3 prettiest of you. That's fine. I'm sorry.
I'll remember that.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Hey.
Okay, we're back now.
I think we're back.
We're back now.
Cool.
Cool. Now
I'll sort that out.
We'll sort that.
We'll
sort that out during My Name Is Death. But yeah, before we go into this track, have you got any particular intro you wanna, a little background you wanna give with us before we go into the song? We'll discuss it afterwards. But
so this was our second single that we released in January, I think, just before we played our first show. And it's a traditional folk song based on a folk song called Death and the Lady, very, very popular. It's been covered hundreds of times by all kinds of different folk people, and it's not strictly a murder ballad, even though that is kind of one of our core themes, but it's basically a kind of conversation with death, and it kind of starts in the sort of, I went out on a May morning, and then, who did I bump into? It was death. And then kind of the progress of the song. It's just so
God, it's awful.
all the time. This is our kind of adaptation of that folk song.
Fantastic. Well, we'll go play that now, and then we'll see you in however many minutes this song is. I forgot off the top of my head. See you in a sec.
Birds did sing aloud still.
And that was My Name is Death. I'll pop the link back in the chat so you can go and pre-save the EP, although this track is actually available on streaming and on Bandcamp now as the second single. Yeah, I absolutely fucking adore that one. I think what I was saying while you were out the Zoom call is this might be my favourite one on the EP, and not to diminish the rest of the EP is also fantastic, and I was saying the more we listen to, the more we realise what high praise that is, but I absolutely I think you've absolutely nailed the atmosphere on that one, and there's like as a first track, there's a kind of introduction to the band if this is your first listen to, that really I think sets the stage for what you are doing. Like you say, it's not technically a murder ballad, but I think it's murder ballad adjacent. Absolutely,
Absolutely.
yeah, I really love how that one turned out. I'm on the wrong page of my notes, bear with me. So in terms of the mixing, what we were talking about earlier before we had the technical issues, I think you absolutely nailed it. There's this real sense of foreboding doom throughout it, and it's the vocals almost sound kind of like understated, which I think makes it creepier. Like there's a bit of a resignation to it, which I think in the context of sort of bumping into death, like when you're on the way back from having too many pints, or whatever the context was. I mean, like, oh, for fuck's sake! All right, I guess this is it. Fine. Like this is inevitability to it that I think. Even not bothering to read the context of the song beforehand, really, I think absolutely nails the emotion. Okay, I think that's my gushing out the way.
Very kind of you.
Thank you.
I should probably ask some questions. Yeah, so I guess this isn't necessarily this track specific, but it's obviously a really interesting premise, this whole musical project. But I think when you are doing covers, I think it's a very unique position, because I think when you're someone who does a cover of a more modern song, there's always this kind of like comparison to that recording of it. But when it's traditional folk music, obviously that was predates recorded music and predates all of us being alive. So you're never going to get someone being like, oh, I much preferred it back in like whatever year when they first reviewed it. And I guess you get quite a lot of creative license that way because you don't feel as tied down by it. So I guess my broad question is, how do you go about adapting traditional folk songs into this style?
So absolutely, as you say, like we've done something a bit different. So I mean, I'm actually quite a big fan of traditional English folk music, particularly kind of late 60s, early 70s bands, like Pentangle, Fairport Convention, Steel Eye, anything with Sandy Denny, I think it's great. Like Comus doing something completely different, very kind of psychedelic and radical. Not really so trad, but very much of that kind of period. But yeah, I'm quite a big fan of, that kind of sort of English folk revival of that time. But I kind of always felt it never really went far enough. So, it started out quite folky. Like I love the first few Steel Eye Span albums, but then when they started playing electric, it all went kind of very soft rock and ballady.
Yeah.
And that's where I sort of lose interest, particularly in the 80s. It kind of became very commercial, very kind of easily sellable. And it sort of lost that kind of interesting, more like darker, folky edge. So I sort of was thinking like, oh, what a shame those bands didn't basically kind of go down the sort of Sabbath direction and kind of move into this kind of dark sort of heaviness, which would have been kind of really cool. And you sort of see like bands sort of like, say, Green Lung doing that kind of thing now, and they're mixing kind of traditional folk themes with more like heavy style music. But to do that, I decided that we would just kind of the music would be kind of our own music, and we wouldn't adapt the traditional tunes that are attached to the ballads. So as you say, that gives a lot more kind of flexibility with the ways we want to adapt the songs. And one of the main things with a lot of these folk songs is they don't have choruses. So, I've kind of created choruses, which I think fit with.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that because they fit so naturally in. I would not have guessed that they they weren't part of the original ones.
Yeah, because often the ballad is telling the story. It's basically telling the story in a sequence. And it might have a kind of repeated refrain, but it doesn't necessarily have like a chorus as we would have in a kind of more modern style song. So some of the songs we have use this kind of repeating refrain. You'll see this later on with kind of Greenwood side, for example. But with this one, I kind of I like the sort of contrast between the kind of folky beginning of the song, where it's a bit kind of jolly and happy, and then suddenly in the chorus it's kind of, as you say, the deep vocals come in, the doominess, the heaviness comes in. So the contrast between the happy May morning and and then death is revealed to be the other person.
Yeah. No, definitely. And the transition, like it's sudden, but it's kind of it's happened before you realize it. It's so slick at the same time. And I really like that. Sorry, was someone else going to say something then?
We're just checking that we're not still buffering.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
I think it's
no, I think that might have been their end. Yeah, I think we're still moving fine. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, you mentioned a lot of things that I picked up on there, and yeah, because moving the Black Sabbath way would have been like, it was the right time period for it to do so, and it's weird that it didn't, because it does work so well. Like, I think you've really struck gold with this. Not to boil it down to a formula, obviously, it's more than that, but yeah, with this particular premise. Because obviously what Black Sabbath were doing, particularly in like those early days, was really just taking just like this this real sense of like horror and like visceral fear and putting it to music, which just works so well with the subject areas that traditional folk songs cover. So yeah, absolutely a big fan of it. Does anyone else have any other anything to add before we move on to the next one? Or do I have any
Becky's
other
pretty
questions?
comprehensive.
Yeah, I'm pretty comprehensive about it.
Yeah.
It's fun to play. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. Oh, actually, another thing I wanted to mention at the beginning, as well as what I like, and maybe not every track, but I think this one's a really good example of it, is that there's not really one obvious driving element to the song. It does feel like it is a very cohesive ensemble, which I particularly like, and I think it's what I'm growing to like about Doom as a whole. It really does work as one coherent piece together. Like, it's not very obviously guitar driven, it's not obviously bass driven or percussive driven. Yeah, it's just very cohesive. It's and that will be partly due to the mixing as well. I've done a great job on that. And it just, you can just really just let it kind of envelop you. And yeah, which I think really adds to the atmosphere as well. So yeah,
I think
absolutely good work. I really like it. It'll become very clear, by the way, that my music theory knowledge is very limited. So I will use words like and stuff, and without.
I mean, same.
Yeah.
Just it's minor.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Dan
varied.
brings in like proper music notation, and we're all just smiling and nodding like we know what it
Yeah.
means.
Could you put this
I was
in
to say that
numbers, please?
David was trained
Yeah.
as a classical
Yeah.
violinist, and that's pretty much all of the music knowledge that we have essentially. These two. So I don't really have much of a music background, so yeah, it's not going to be technical in that sense.
It's
Fantastic.
technical to know which number the frets are on the instrument,
Yeah.
right? That's about as
My hand does this shape.
Yeah.
Sometimes my hands think, where are my frets?
And I guess like
frets
another
for you.
question I wanted to ask, maybe this is better saving to the end, but because I think it would go really well with this one, are you planning any music videos at any point?
Someone hasn't been paying attention
yeah,
to what Instagram.
I mean,
I have not.
uh,
Okay.
I have been putting together a little something
Oh,
which
nice.
should come out soon.
Oh, okay.
Vague.
Fantastic.
Vague. Yes, let's keep it vague and in the air, because we haven't picked today, but it is kind of ready. It's like
Ooh.
93%.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's brewing, would you? Dan?
Yeah.
Yes, you could say it's brewing.
It's brewing. It's very
Brewing.
drinky inspired.
Yes.
Actually got cringe.
Oh,
Yeah.
incredible. Cool. Yeah, I didn't actually check Instagram much for the last recently, so I apologize for missing that. But it's a good segue to bring it up anyway. So that's good. Fantastic. I'm sure we'll be sharing all the posts on that once it's live. Awesome. Good stuff. So the next track is The Red Barn. This is the first non-single track on the EP. Do you want to give us a background to this one, or should we go straight into it?
Yeah, so this is the second track I wrote for the band, and this is a murder ballad. It is actually based on a real murder. So obviously a lot of these songs are kind of, the origins are sort of lost to time because they have a kind of long tradition in print and then possibly an oral tradition behind that. But this one actually relates to a murder which happened in 1827. It's also called The Murder of Maria Martin. So if you look at it on YouTube, you'll see lots of covers, probably under that name, and it's basically about a young woman who was murdered by her lover at this local landmark called the Red Barn in Holstead in Suffolk. And it caused a huge sensation. There was a trial, and the lover was hanged, and apparently something like the newspapers reported like 20,000 people turned up to the execution, and it spawned novels, all sorts of stuff, plays, theatre productions, ballads, folk songs, and then film when film came out. So it was a massive deal in Victorian England. and apparently something like 1 million ballads were printed. So it was really like the massive sensation of its day. So yeah, this is our adaptation of that song.
Basically a pop song.
Yeah, it was basically like a kind of Victorian pop song. It was really sensationalist, and it became pretty much impossible to kind of separate the kind of sensationalism and fiction around it from the actual facts of the case, of course. So lots of extra stuff became accumulated to it. And people would buy souvenirs of the Red Barn. They would like chip away at the tombstones and take them home. People would collect Red Barn memorabilia, which is all kind of pretty morbid, but you know, everybody loves watching true crime dramas now. So it's the kind of Victorian equivalent, I guess.
Always been that,
Loved murders.
Loved murders. Fantastic. Okay, well, we'll go on to the track now. We'll see you in a little bit. And that was that was the Red Barn. I just looked away from it for a second, forgot the name of the track. Very professional, and I didn't make a big enough deal of it. That's the first time that's been played publicly. So yeah, that's witnessing history here. Non-binary Smurf, that bass though, yeah, absolutely love the mix of vocal styles. Yeah, that was definitely going to be something I was going to bring up. I mean, I'm a big sucker for like the contrast between the harmonizing kind of melodic choruses and the more guttural vocals, and I particularly like how the music itself didn't get any heavier with it. That I really like that technique when it's used, because it just I think it adds the more kind of demonic energy than I think than dropping the entire music to be kind of more. I mean, I like when it does that as well. But yeah, it's just really noticeable, and it works really well. And yeah, absolute perfection. Loved it. Yeah, it was interesting. I think we're just talking about the kind of like late 60s kind of psychedelic vibes, because that's definitely that absolutely shows here that kind of late 60s psychedelic going into like the kind of early 70s prog, which yeah was probably the kind of music that really started to get you into music as a whole, and not just a few bands I listened to. Was kind of going back to that kind of era. The intro was really sludgy Sabbath vibes. It kind of reminiscent of the really long build up intro to War Pigs. That was what it made me think of, which I absolutely love. Wow. Okay. I've wrote bullet point notes, and now I don't know what they mean. I just put one of those songs that feels like it's holding you up, that's holding you up by your shoulders. I don't know what I meant by that, but sure.
It's me after every meeting, just write some notes. Yeah. Sure, I'll know what they mean later.
Yeah.
No problem. But no, I really like that song. It's great fun to play. It's very doomy.
Yeah,
I think.
I enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say as well, it's because I think I don't know I don't know if it's because you're kind of covering traditional songs, or you're kind of drawing from so many different kind of eras of music, but it does have a kind of timeless sound to it. It's
I think we were going for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think without like, apart from like maybe like the kind of more electronic elements, I feel like that could have easily come out really any time in the last like 60-70 years. Yeah, absolutely incredible. You actually brought up a good point there. I was gonna kind of ask, I guess to give just like maybe the rest of the band a question. What's it like playing? Because I think a lot of you come from fairly different musical backgrounds, so I'm just kind of curious like how you find playing in this particular style. Is it something you've done before? How are you finding it compared to what you're used to?
Oh, you can answer that.
Yeah. So I came to this band later than everybody else. Basically, I went to a ska show and had a drunken chat with
As
Kirsty.
all good stories start, yeah.
Rather than watching any of the bands, just sitting around having a chat.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I can't remember how it came about because, it was late in the day by that point. But I think basically I was like, man, I'm really looking for a doom band to join. Great. And Kirsty was like,
exactly like that.
Man, do I have a doom band for you? And very considerate of you to then send me a message after I left to be like, you're drunk. You need to think about what you've just committed to.
Oh, bless.
You can get back to me in the morning. And I went to bed and I got up in the morning and I was like, yeah, do you know what? Let's give this a go. That'd be wicked. I'd love to be in a doom band.
I feel like that's very much Kirsty atting herself there.
No, it's quite different to what my other band plays, which is very fast ska punk with quite rapid fire vocals.
It is almost the polar opposite, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been really nice to do something very, very different here, something very moody and groovy, and something with actual singing in it, instead of just trying to throw as many words out of my face as quickly as I can. But yeah, it's been a really nice kind of adventure in different styles of music that I'm into, with different people with a whole different approach. You come from one band into another and it's like, oh, this is refreshing.
Yeah.
These people do things in a very different way.
Yeah, for sure. And you absolutely got the range for it. Like as soon as I think I was only at the punk festival when like Kirsty mentioned that you were in Baldhead as well, that I realised you were the same person, because I listened to both of you before, so I would not have guessed that. So you have incredible stylistic range there. Also, Dawson Medals just put in the chat, Kirsty, how does super slow folk doom compare to free chord punk?
Question,
so I mean, I'm still largely doing 1 to 3 chords per song for a lot of these, which like is fine because like as you were saying earlier, our songs are like very layered and it adds to the things that everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
And because we did have this in some of our early drafts where everyone was doing something very fiddly and involved, and it meant that just everything was too much. So it's still, my bits are still quite simple. Is Doomfolk twerkable? And just thanks for that, Izzy. Everything is twerkable and you know it.
Yeah.
But like I do think I have noticed that, and I realize this is because I play in a very silly way on my own and I'm never held accountable for my less than professional behaviors. But like when I learn a thing, I prove that I've learned it by playing it as fast as I possibly can.
Yeah,
same. And like that's not good because songs are meant to be the tempo that they're at. And this being very slow and me having to wait my turn and not just blast through it has been a learning curve for me that has definitely made me better at things. And honestly is something I never should have had to learn in the first place if I wasn't a bit of a dick. But it has been, I have enjoyed getting to know a new genre in a way that like I had kind of a passing familiarity with Doom.
Sure.
Liked a couple of Doom bands but didn't know loads about the genre as a whole. And over the past like year and a half I have learned a lot and got better at practicing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can definitely. I mean, I've not picked up my guitar in like 4 years, but I can definitely relate to that. Just like as soon as I learn a riff or a song, just like playing it as fast as possible, and then trying to play with other people, doing it at like triple time, and then being like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah. Also from the drums as well, like having to slow down is actually something like really to learn. Because like my entire background musically, like when I've always been into like thrash and very speedy sort of stuff. Or like very technical sort of like things. So like slowing down is not an option usually.
No.
Yeah, I think like when we first started, there was definitely a lot of slow down.
Yeah, and I guess when you're chief hitting person, your tempo is probably the most important out of anyone's to be right.
Yeah, definitely like one of the things, learning to be conscious of my tempo is
especially in this song, because as you say, it's a very groovy song.
It's very
and
groovy,
the idea is it's sort of quite an immersive song, so it needs to kind of flow quite well.
Yeah.
So
I think of it as very atmospheric, very poised and deliberate. It's not one you can kind of rush through.
Yeah.
No, definitely, that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, it really just kind of grips your like very soul, and I think like the kind of tempo and kind of just how it flows is a real part of that. Yeah.
Well, so that's what actually this is what I think is really good for the violin, because the violin has that really nice kind of flowing like drawing aspect, which kind of goes really well. Because the thing is quite unusual to have a violin in a doom band, and this project wasn't envisaged with a violin. It just happened that David played the violin, and when he came along to practice one day, I was thinking like, well, it's about broadsides and ballads, why not have a violin?
Why not give it?
It's the perfect combination. So we kind of ended up with a violin, but it
really works.
A lot more folky. Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. More distinctive.
Yeah, absolutely brings.
It's made quite a change to the sound, I think it really works, particularly with songs like this one,
Yeah. No, absolutely agree. I think it's quite interesting. A lot of you come from like playing like a lot kind of more faster and more manic genres of music. And one of the things I was musing on, and this is purely anecdotal, not based on any evidence, but I feel like with my limited musical background, I feel like deliberately playing slow is probably one of the hardest things I would have to do. And I think in genres like thrash and like power metal and kind of stuff like that, where there is an emphasis on speed. I think there's a certain more leeway of like if you hit a couple of bum notes, unless you let that derail the whole song, you're probably going to get away with that. Whereas this one, if you hit a bum note, then that you have to kind of sit in that for a bit, and I would hate that. Like I don't know if it's necessarily harder. I think it's just hard in a different way. It's a kind of different skill. So yeah, it's really cool that you've all kind of managed to pick this up, and it's come together to be a really cool project.
Yeah, if you hit a shit note on the violin, you just can slide it back to where it was meant to be, and it sounds even more ominous in the process of doing that.
Oh, that's it. No, if it's
me or Kirsty hit a bum chord, you're stuck with that chord for like 10 seconds.
Yeah. I feel like violin's one of those instruments though, like, unless you nail it, it does sound horrible, and it sounds incredible. So good job with that. Cool. Okay, so the next track is the first single, John Barleycorn, which was the one that was also playing on the Stream Psych Zoo screen. So if you're here from the beginning, you've already heard a bit of that. And yeah, this was the first one released, and I absolutely love this one. Here we are. Yeah, really perfect drinking song. Do you want to introduce this one, or should we let this one speak for itself?
Well, as you said, it's a drinking song, so this is where you need to get out your beverage of choice. In our case, it's mead.
Yeah,
so
and conveniently, I'm running low on cider, so I'm going to play this and then go get another one. So this is John Barleycorn. Take it away.
Song and fill your pints of poor John Barleycorn. Let's pour our thirst
back. That was John Barleycorn. Goosebumps as non-binary Smurf. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so obviously this was the first track you put out, and I think My Name is Death is a brilliant introduction to the EP, but just an introduction to the band on the whole. I think you picked a very good first single to put out. It's incredibly fun. It is very much. It's clear what you do from the beginning with it. Yeah, the violin sounds amazing. The metal elements provide a really good foundation underneath that. Yeah, this is just a really fun one. And Daughter Metal has put in the chat. Sounds very close to the live sound, which is a difficult thing to achieve. Done very well. Obviously, I've not had the pleasure of seeing you live yet, but I can imagine that would be a song that worked really well in the live setting. Has that been your experience so far with the limited live shows you've done?
Yeah, I think so. We have played the set in this order, and I think it's so different to the Red Barn. So you kind of the Red Barn's quite groovy, quite doomy, got quite a heavy ending, and then immediately we kind of go into this sort of drinking song, and it's kind of picking up. And this is definitely the most folky out of all the songs. It's kind of got that sort of driving, which sort of powers it through. It's very obviously it's quite a simple song. It's only got kind of basically 3 different parts, and the chorus, the verse, and the kind of the doom section. Doom section. But yeah, I think we kind of picked it because it's quite concise. It's sort of it carries a lot of momentum, and it's not it's not strictly a murder ballad, but of course it is about a murder. It's about the personification of John Barleycorn, the brewing process. And I think it's a really interesting song because you can kind of interpret it how you like, and you can interpret it as a fun drinking song, but it can also be a bit more sort of sinister and dark because it's got these kind of Wicker Man vibes, the sort of ritualistic element about the harvest and the sacrifice. So there's some really interesting different versions of this tune depending on how people interpret it, and I think it's kind of one of those ones which just lends itself so well to any kind of adaptation.
Yeah, you can take it in so many different directions, and I think you've really kind of nailed the balance between the more sinister kind of vibes of it, and also just it being a really fun song. I had another point I was going to make, then I've immediately forgotten it. I'm sure it will come back in a minute. But yeah, just on a personal level, listening, because so in terms of, I've only recently started listening to more doom, and in terms of my kind of folk metal, it was always the more kind of power metal end of the spectrum, or possibly the other extreme in something like your kind of Viking metal, a monomath kind of thing. And this is something that was very distinct from both of them. I absolutely loved it. It was one of those things where it was took me a little maybe till the first chorus to really kind of properly get into it, but then once it clicked, I was like, okay, yeah, no, this is incredible. And I really like the chanting. That's what I was going to talk about. Yeah, the kind of chanting chorus, the kind of ritualistic side of it. That's done incredibly well. And I don't think it's the only song you do it in, but just as a sound, as a vibe, it is immaculate.
I think this is just a really fun song to play live as well. Actually, it's just I think everyone really enjoys it. I mean, we were talking about having to slow down and such in many of the songs we played, to emphasize the doomy crunchiness of our tracks. But with this one, we do get the chance to just go right at it and just play really quickly, and it drives it along.
It works, but it's still
got a very violin-driven one as well.
It is, I was going to say of all of them, this is the one where I think the violin kind of shines the most by itself, and then the rest of it's complementing it and giving it that kind of foundation. To really kind of give it an extra oomph. Absolutely. I've already forgotten my train of thought, but I did have a question I was going to ask. Is in terms of kind of picking the songs that you wanted to adapt, how do you go about doing that? Are there any that missed the cut for this EP that you're kind of working on as your next things, or?
There are a few. I think we were sort of halfway between. Is this actually going to be an album? Because it's just tipping into album territory. How long
right
it
between.
Is. But we have. I think just at the time, those are the songs that we had kind of ready to go, as it were. We have got another couple, which are actual kind of, I should say, proper murder ballads. And actually, one of them is slightly different because one of them is actually a Scots Gaelic song. So even though on the whole a lot of these songs are English. English, and it's one of those kind of slightly difficult things to pin down. I was a little bit reluctant to say that we're an English folk band because actually a lot of these songs actually have obviously travelled quite widely, and they can be collected in Scotland or Ireland or North America, because obviously you get a lot of kind of cross-cultural migration. So
especially songs that are that old,
Yeah, absolutely. But then at the same time, if you say English folk, people generally have an idea as to what you mean.
Yeah.
And as you say, it's very different from, say, like the Viking style metal that comes out of Scandinavia. So we've sort of had to lean into the kind of the sort of English side. But yeah, like basically, I sort of trawl through the indexes, the RAD index. Bodin Library's got a great one, and the great thing about the online indexes is that they're subject indexed. So you can type in murder or drowning or
isn't the future brilliant?
Killed by an albatross or whatever, and you can actually pull up all the ballads that mention these topics. It's such a useful resource.
Did you say killed by an albatross? Is that like, have you found songs about being killed by an albatross?
Enough for a whole EP.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. There's just there's just so much material on there, which isn't really touched by metal bands.
No.
Which is strange because, as you say, like a lot of bands from other countries use their traditional folk ballads. Or even Dave and I are big fans of Morphis from Finland. They're based on the Kalevala, the national epic, and all of their material is based on that poem. And you just don't really see that kind of so much with English folk. So it seems a bit of an oversight, which I think is a bit strange. But there's just so much material there to draw from. We might have to kind of branch away from murder and do, other kinds of death and, drowning all kinds of other things. But
they're really good until they branched away from the murder. Incredible, yeah. I had a follow-up and it's gone. Clearly, I've not had enough cider is what the problem is here. I'm sure I remember my points a little bit, but we can move on to the next one now. I think this is probably my favourite non-single track on the EP. This is Down the Greenwood Side. Do you want to give a little intro to this one?
So this is also known as Cruel Mother, the Cruel Mother. So that's obviously where the band name comes from. Again, it's another very widely covered folk song. It's got quite a lot of sort of supernatural elements. So the basic story is that a mother seems to have these illegitimate children, and she murders them, buries them, and then she sees the children reappearing in a variety of mysterious ways. They're playing in the park, they're in the church, and basically that they tell her that she's damned forever because of what she did, and she has to kind of reconcile with that. So nice kind of cheery song about infanticide, and all the rest of it. And the ending, if you know the song "The Well Below the Valley," which is quite a famous English folk song, it ends with this kind of 7 years you're going to ring the bell, 7 years burning in hell. And this song also has the same kind of ending. So we kind of wanted to build up into when it gets really bleak and heavy at the end, so it really builds up into that kind of the last part.
Fab. Okay, so this is Down the Greenwood Side. Gonna play it now. Okay, that was down the Greenwood side. Yeah, I think that might be. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favourite tracks. I think possibly my favourite non-single track on the EP. I'm struggling to think of things to say for it that I've not said for other ones, but I think it really is a culmination of everything that's been great about what we've talked about so far. I feel like in terms of telling a story through the music, I think this has absolutely nailed it. Maybe just because I'm a wanker who loves 8-minute songs, I don't know. But but I love it, like the way it kind of flows into each different part towards the end. There's almost a bit that's almost kind of black metal-y that I really love. And yeah, it's just lots of kind of visceral terror and demonism in there. And having listened to it both as kind of like actively, like trying to think of things to say about it, and also just kind of having it on in the background, it works in both contexts really well. It's a very flexible listening experience, I find. How was this one to record? I mean, I suppose it's not wildly longer than some of your other tracks, but
yeah. So basically, recording process for this one's pretty much similar to what we did for the rest of them. So we kind of recorded the drums down at the studio. So we did try to do drums and bass in single take, but then we kind of had to do drop-ins for quite a few of the songs.
Sure.
Just because of basically how long everything is, and especially some of the sections, that double kick section, it's like I'm playing double kicks for 3 minutes straight.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely had to do a few different sort of cuts to kind of get that in there. I'd say in terms of the album, this was probably the EP. I keep calling it an album.
I think I've used them interchangeably, to be honest, which I know is wrong.
Yeah,
fucker.
But yeah, whatever. But yeah, in terms of this one's one of the ones which I think has come out a lot better than I was expecting, because basically because there's so many different sections and stuff, and we kind of came up with this song when we were relatively fresh.
You're right.
Okay. Yeah, you can definitely hear the difference from when we first started to when we got this recorded down. But yeah, trying to balance everything in there as well is sometimes a bit of a task, because you've got so many sort of bits in the background and
so many elements to
too
arrange,
much up front. So you've kind of got to what do I position where?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that one's really good. And actually, in terms of production as well, I really like the next one as well. The last track on the EP is pretty good, because it's quite different direction to the rest of them. So yeah, they're the two which I kind of like from a production standpoint. They're the very fun ones to work with. I've not done too much with violins before. I have recorded the odd string quartet when I was at uni.
Okay.
I've not really done anything in band context, so that was a bit interesting.
I mean, this was my first time playing violin in the band context as well.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, when I was a younger man, I was always playing in rather classical context, in orchestras and such.
Sure.
But, never not quite the energy of playing the ending of Greenwood side on the stage with a frantic blast beats.
Yeah, I was gonna say this must be a difficult one to get right live.
Did orchestras let you wear silly hats, David?
They did not, unfortunately. No silly hats allowed at the time.
None of us have come from a playing background.
This is actually a hard one to get the tempo right on.
I can imagine.
This, when we get to the blast beat section, in the back of my head, I'm so tempted just to go hell leather. And as soon as you set the tempo, you're stuck at it. So basically, whatever you determine, that's what you're doing for the next few minutes. So if you can't keep that up for a couple of minutes,
and I guess it's
game over.
It's easier to instinctively just go as fast as you can, rather than to kind of hit the right tempo that you can sustain.
I do kind of want to have one practice where you do go all out and we all have to keep up and see how we go. Just to practice. Not going to happen. No one's ever going to see it, but just to see.
See if you can.
We'll know. We'll know how fast we can get before you'll die.
I spent a long time with the metronome trying to get there.
Do you reckon it'd be easier to do 3 minutes of slow double kick blast beats, or 1 minute of really, really fast?
I'd say 3 minutes of medium. That wasn't an option, but
because you mentioned about actually the slight black metal influence, and we should actually mention that one of our first. No.
What?
Don't mention daughter. Okay. No, we won't mention that then. We're told not to mention it. But yeah, no, there is some. Like, I also, as well as Stoner Doom, I'm a big fan of also kind of funeral doom as well.
Yeah.
So I definitely think like this and the Red Barn just kind of draw on those sort of bands. Like Dan and I both big fans of Paradise Lost, for example.
Yeah.
Really big into Catatonia, so I do quite like the sort of heavy. Yeah. So that kind of very much more. I don't want to say depressing, but the kind of
solemn.
The more melancholic aspect, I think. And those sort of come into that song. It's still it's sort of groovy at the beginning, and then at the end, as you say, it kind of gets into the sort of more sort of black metal, heavier doom sort of styles. So we have kind of mixed in some of that in as well in the songs.
Yeah. And again, just like it transitions so smoothly that you don't even really realize it's changed until it hits you in the face, and I really like that.
And
I love things I can listen to for a long period of time and then like have to double take, like, is this the same song? Is it a different track? But like it's so just subtle, you don't even like really miss. You don't even really notice that that it's building to that.
Yeah, and again, it's one of the, apart from Red Barn, where we also use James's kind of black metal style vocals at the end. Because part of the thing with this project is I thought it was really important that you have to be able to hear the vocals.
I think
that was one of the key things that makes it sound like a folk influence project. And I listened to a lot of Stoner Doom, and a lot of the time the vocals are pretty much by the by, if they even have vocals. And often the vocalists will either sound kind of pretty growly or like Aussie, and that's kind of the two ways often. And I think where we kind of wanted to go is we really wanted to bring that folk aspect where you can actually hear the story being told, so the vocals are very clear. And we had a couple of really nice reviews for the EP, and both the reviewers really said about the vocals being really clear. You can hear the story. Is what builds this sort of folk vibe to the music.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I think is a little bit different to sort of other similar styles. And one of the bands I really like, actually they are really the bands who invented folk metal, I think. Skyclad, who started in the beginning of the 1990s, and they started out as a thrash band, and then they added in a violin, and then they kind of invented the genre of folk metal as we know it. And I think this is a sort of similar idea. We started out as doom metal bands, and then we added a violin, and now we've become a kind of folk.
Done that from a different direction,
Yeah, it's like a slightly different direction, but that's the kind of John Barleycorn particularly is sort of not too far away from what Skyclad do. And again, especially in their later albums, the vocals are really clear, and the lyrics is a big part of the music.
Definitely. And I think because you have that as your baseline, when you do drop in the more kind of guttural demonic vocals, that stands out more as well. And I think the places you've incorporated it in, really work with the narratives that you're saying, both in terms of the literal narrative and also like just the song structure itself. It feels. I mean, I love music that has that the whole way through, but I think bands who kind of drop bits in every now and then, like you've been doing there, and I really kind of think about what that means to the mood of the song. I think that works incredibly well. How you done that?
Had you sung black metal vocals before this project?
I've always wanted to sing.
So this is a great project for you,
Early on in practices, when I think we were still kind of figuring out where certain things were going to go and what we could actually do compared to maybe what we wanted to do.
Sure.
It was quite nice to have sort of, I think, Becky, you were like, so can you growl then?
I think that was the first thing I said to you about this band. Because, again, you're not wrong, that conversation is a bit of a blur, but I remember being like, can you growl? I need someone who can growl. And you're like, I can try and growl.
Yeah. I can do anything. Me, yeah, sure. I've had 4 pints. That'll be fine. But yeah, no, it's something that if you've not really tried to do before, it's quite. You can hear it in your mind, but you can't necessarily make it happen. So I went away and I watched some videos on how to do those kind of noises, and yeah, it's been really good, really fun. Try not to do too much in one go.
Yeah, definitely
but, no, I'm really pleased with how it came out, particularly on Greenwood side, where we've got quite a lot of that towards the end.
Yeah.
It's been a delight to sound evil for a change.
Oh, what a lovely sentence that was. Number as well also says thank you for the discernible vocals. Yeah, no, I think that was absolutely the right call to make. Cool. Okay, I actually had a lot more. Yeah, we had a lot more discussion on that than I thought we might. But we're getting to the end now, so we've got Will O The Wisp next, which I guess is the last kind of like full track on the EP. Do you have any particular? Do you want to give an intro to this one?
Yeah, so this is one that I just found when I was trawling through the Bodleian Library's database of broadsides. It's not one, as far as I know, that has been adapted in a modern context to music. It's quite late. It's probably mid to late 19th century, and yeah, it's about Will O The Wisps that lure people to their deaths in the marshes. And I thought, well, that sounds pretty metal to me.
That is really
it sounds perfect. So I had this idea to do it in an almost kind of a cappella style, like you can kind of imagine people sort of singing it in the pub on a winter's night with the fire on in the dark, and then going out into the out the pub and then being lured away by the Will O The Wisps. So that was the kind of idea. So that's kind of what we tried to go with. It's a very, very vocal kind of heavy song.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Okay, so this is Will O The Wisp playing now.
When all the land is cloaked by night, in darkness I appear. They follow me to seek my light, or flee from me in fear. Will O The Wisp, they trembling cry, the traveler I deceive. Will O The Wisp, my light will guide, but to their graves I lead. I seek the wanderer on their way, the traveler all alone. Into my realm I make them stray, never to go back home. Will O The Wisp, they trembling cry, the traveler I deceive. Will O The Wisp, my light will guide, but to their graves I lead. With outstretched hand they try to grasp, as I dance here and there, but none can catch nor hold me fast, for I am naught but air. Will O The Wisp, they trembling cry, the traveler I deceive. Will O The Wisp, my light will guide, but to their to their graves I lead.
That was Will O The Wisp. Yeah, very, very, absolutely. I mean, non-binary Smurf, I think, said it best. Ooh, cool, ominous build up, very spooky. That was basically what I was going to say in more words than that, but I think that's actually better. I think brevity is the way to go. Yeah, absolutely. It gave me real Van Canto vibes, or an a cappella metal group I don't know very well, but the couple of songs I have heard, just like very reminiscent of that ominous build up. Lots of harmonizing, lots of kind of chorus elements, and then what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, just really cool. Oh yeah, and again you've got the you're kind of harmonizing with the more growled vocals as well towards the end. It's really nice. It does feel like a 5-minute long build up, which I really love. Those are some of my favorite songs in many genres of rock and metal amount to that. And I think as a not concluding track, but kind of getting to the end of the album, that's a really cool place to put it. Yeah, it is quite different from the rest. How did you find this like recording and writing compared to the rest?
I think this is one of the ones where we all sang on this, and it's a purpose idea because there's 5 of us and there's 5 choruses, I think. That we'd start out with one voice, and then each time we'd add another layer. And so then at the end we've kind of double layered it with James's growl vocals as well. So we've got we've all got quite different voices. Different, like Dan's got a very deep voice, and I've got quite a high voice, so we've got kind of all different levels by the end. I kind of had the idea that the instruments will kind of build up, and then they just cut off, and then that would be the sort of the spooky ending.
We tried to do different things to kind of layer up the sounds as we've gone along. For example, on the violin side, it started off just pizzicato, just plucking the strings, and as it goes along, sort of building up more flourishes, and then by the end of it, we were just all, everyone's going quite loud for it.
And with the drums as well. The drums building up.
So the drums basically actually led up a couple of takes on this. So there's actually like a normal drum track, but then there's also a percussion track, which I kind of like overlaid underneath it, which was just basically concentrating on the floor tom. And then I also had like a separate track which we recorded with just cymbals. To add like some flourishing, and then we kind of like blended it together. That does kind of make it a little bit harder to do live.
I was going to say it must be.
So what I've had to kind of do is just kind of like put one hand on the cymbals, one hand on the floor tom, and just kind of hope for the best.
Maybe we should do a Slipknot and get in a couple of accompanists.
So I just add, right? When Dan was putting the drum line down, he came to practice and he went, I really like the idea of other drummers listening to this, trying to figure out how it's done and wondering if I have 8 arms. I said that about
Oh, you've ruined the magic.
Ruined the magic, yeah.
I'm really sucker for that kind of like layering instruments on top of each other, like completely different genre, but like to think of the most iconic example, like the intro to Chop Suey, where there's like all the different guitar bits laid over each other. You do get something. You get a vibe from that it's hard to replicate in any other way, I think. And you've absolutely nailed it here. I was going to ask about kind of how this translates live. I suppose that must be one of the more difficult ones to do.
We need 5 microphones for it, and we don't have 5 microphones that are live gig yet.
I think it does kind of work as a finisher to the set.
It does.
Definitely.
It's a nice kind of like wind down.
Yeah, because it like winds stuff down. And I think it does work quite well live. But there's a lot of layering on this one. So
but I mean, it's incredibly simple. It's essentially just 2 notes. It's dun dun, and that's it. That's the whole. That is basically the whole song, and then the rest of it is kind of the vocal melody, which kind of carries it. Which is not what I was going for. I was kind of thinking of that sort of, you go into a pub and everyone's having a sort of sing around. With
that's exactly the vibe.
Like that, and that's kind of what I was sort of imagining, but with it, it's sort of got this slightly more blues kind of influenced style, and obviously a bit kind of darker.
A bit kind of ritualistic. It wouldn't be out of place in like a high fantasy like franchise, definitely.
Sort of chanting.
I mean this song when we were writing it, we in earlier iterations it was very improvisational. You know, it's kind of we were just having like long breaks between the verses and just playing lots of well, whatever floats on the riffs. But I think we did tighten it up when we realised that it didn't need to
just keep that
18 minutes long.
Yeah. I mean, no one needs it, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't.
I mean, I've managed to keep some of the improvisation and the violin part as we build it up, you know, to make it feel more complex as we go along, which I've enjoyed doing.
Yeah, again, it is a sort of a pub folk song in that sense that, you know, the guitar sort of has a bit of a solo, the violin has a solo, and it's got that degree of improvisation, as though it was a kind of folk night where people sort of pitch in.
That's exactly what it feels like,
Yeah, and as David said, sometimes this one went on for about 15 minutes because we just kind of carry on playing. You know, it was really nice. It was a really fun jam song until eventually we decided to cut it down a bit. It's actually interesting. The actual there's actually not that much to this song. If you look at the original ballad, I think it's only about 15 lines.
Yeah.
So basically, I like adding in this repeated chorus has obviously made it a lot longer. And I kind of adapted some of the verses to try and sort of space it out. And I also kind of wanted the story of the Will o' the Wisps basically to build up to a finite end. So, you know, that's when the growls come in and, you know, James says, you know, your journey's end has come. And that's the end of the song, you know, so it's a sort of progression. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. It's interesting hearing about all the kind of improvisation behind the scenes. I guess just the kind of like, the folk metal equivalent of like freestyling, I guess. But that's really cool. Yeah.
I do still like the idea of bringing back all of the cut verses. Because it was like 20 verses long at one point.
I mean, actually, I should say that poor James has really had to memorise a lot of lyrics.
And then you just didn't end up using them.
Really had a hard job. I mean, for when songs like Greenwood and Red Barn, we've got a lot of verses. So James has done an amazing job having to memorise. Like, even just 5 songs, you can see how many vocals there are. And for a full album, we'd have a lot of vocals to memorise.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. James is talented.
I don't know if I'd say that's talented. It's more a case of just reading somebody else, because this is, you know, I'm coming into something where someone else has written all of the lyrics, and in some cases all of the music. It's fantastic. It's great. I just have to turn up and be pretty. It's lovely.
Just do what you tell me to. All right. Yeah.
You know, some of them are quite lyric heavy. They're quite long.
Yeah.
It's like the first live performance that we did of, oh, cool. Yeah, I definitely know all of these words. Absolutely, this won't be a problem. I certainly didn't have to run off stage like between the first and second song and just double check the lyrics that I brought with me to make sure that I knew what the first lines in Red Barn were. Then meet me at the Red Barn. The clues in the title. But it went mostly fine in the end. Yeah. No, it's been really nice. And there's some absolutely fantastic kind of lyrical interpretations of things that, I don't know, I've never really quizzed you on this, Becky, of how much already exists before you get your hands on it and turn it into something metal.
Yeah, I think this one was fairly close adaptation of the original ballad, right?
It's close, but this is much longer. So sometimes I took the lines and kind of expanded. So some of the lines are lifted from the original ballad, but then I kind of actually wrote a verse. So there'll be like one line, and then I've written a verse, so it'll fit in a kind of rhyme, basically. But when I kind of adapt them, not sometimes quite close, sometimes a little bit more way off. But I kind of like the idea that they should be kind of, I don't say preserved, it's a bit of an awkward term, but essentially I look through this, like obviously lots of these ballads have lots of different versions. So I look at the different versions and I essentially amalgamate them into the one I like. So I would say there's nothing really strictly historical about this, but then actually, interestingly, this is what the early folk ballad collectors did. They were really highly selective and they cut bits up, they moved them around, they edited them. So even the ballads that come down to us today, they're not kind of authentic relics of, you know, a historical past. They quite often have themselves been edited and adapted depending on who chose to record them. So I kind of feel like we're continuing in that tradition. But definitely. I like to keep the core of the song kind of true, so it's recognizable. So if somebody heard down the Greenwood side and they knew the song The Cruel Mother, they would know it's the same song. You know, I kind of want to keep it recognizable in that sense, without going like too far off the mark. But I try and sort of keep a lot of the language that's slightly sort of archaic style. So, that's what kind of lends it, that sort of slightly, oldie worldy, archaic folk style, I think, in terms of like the poetic use of the language and, the sort of, the concepts which kind of make you think of that sort of ruralized past.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, again, like as I was saying, it does sound kind of timeless. I think you really nail the soul of that, even if it's not like word for word whatever the original would have been. I think you've done a really good job in kind of balancing that with more modern elements, so it sounds kind of era-less, and I mean that in a positive way. I guess that's kind of puts me on to my next question. Then really is, in terms of like kind of future with the band, would you ever consider trying to write something entirely from scratch in this style, or would that be kind of against what you want to do with this particular project?
It's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I definitely would. I think I've really been thinking about it, but for me, I kind of need to have a concept. I need to have a theme.
Yeah.
So I need to have a particular, say, instance in history or something where I could actually use that as a basis to write a ballad around. So, I mean, that would work perfectly. For example, there's a great series on Radio 4, Lady Killers, Lucy Worsley. Really recommend it if you like Victorian serial killers. And some of those actually did become folk songs, and some of them didn't. But there's a lot of interesting things there that I think, like, I could write a murder ballad about some of those characters. So there's definitely like scope to kind of write it. But in a slightly different vein, one of the covers that we are working on is actually Nick Cave's "Where the Wild Roses Grow."
Oh, cool!
That is a very modern murder ballad. And Nick Cave's album Murder Ballads actually is really interesting because some of them are adapted from real murder ballads, but that one with Kylie is not. That's an original composition. But to be honest, that's like the one, if you say murder ballads, a lot of people are like, oh, you mean like Nick Cave? That's the one that people actually know and recognise, even though it's a modern song. But as you say, the way he's written it is so timeless. It really sounds like it could have been an authentic ballad. So I mean, that's the goal, isn't it? You want to make your song sound like it could have been one of these ballads, like from hundreds of years ago. Yeah.
Absolutely. I suppose you're never going to be in a position where you're running out of source material in terms of traditional murder ballads. So you're not going to be scrambling for material at any point. But yeah, sort of hearing about kind of how in the process you do kind of there is a lot of work that goes into that adaptation. It's not just lifting a folk song and doing it with some distortion. There's a lot more that goes into that that I hope is clear from what we've listened to so far, and kind of hearing about the process is really cool with that as well. Even so much as in terms of like the lyrics adapting it so it just fits more in like a more modern song format. So yeah, absolutely. Right, we've got one more track. This is Oranges and Lemons. I really love this one. It's I feel like I don't want to give too much away with it, but yeah, it's one of those ones where like the first time I heard or like read the original one, it's already very creepy, and I think you've upped that to 11. So I guess tell us a bit about the inspiration behind this.
Well, this is actually all written. Well, all recorded by David.
Okay.
I mean, in the brief process, we wanted it was actually we wanted a sort of a solo, kind of an introduction track, enough
time.
Yeah, actually, some very long songs, and honestly, I would rather prioritize band songs we play together as a group rather than ones which are kind of
sure.
But we did kind of want something to build up the kind of, as you say, the creepy atmosphere, the sort of the sinister atmosphere, and tap into folk songs, sort of people's knowledge of folk songs and nursery rhyme as well. Is kind of
It can definitely be very creepy.
It can be very creepy. It's always intensely very creepy. I mean, there's sort of the concepts behind every nursery rhyme.
A lot of them are really
very dark, like this one. I mean, for example. Yeah. So the challenge with this one was to try to figure out a way to adapt it in a take what was generally a very cheerful melody and sort of make it as unsettling as possible. That's kind of where I was going with it.
Yeah. Well, I certainly think you succeeded. I will play this now for people. But I mean, nursery rhymes I think are right for that. We'll play it now and then we'll discuss it afterwards. So this is the final track. It's Oranges and Lemons. So that was Oranges and Lemons. This time, Safi Bits Lasagna just succinctly summarising. Ooh, whisper spoopy. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. What I love about this one is it harkens back to like the days of bonus tracks on CDs, where like the album's finished and you don't like press stop, and then like 5 minutes later you shit yourself because there's something else that happens, and then sometimes it'll be like really spooky. That's
If we ever have the money to do a print run, we'll have like a minute of the vinyl spinning.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're exactly right. Originally, actually, it was going to go at the start.
I think it would work as an intro as well.
Yeah, when we listened to it in context, we actually decided that it worked better at the end.
Yeah.
Because it kind of ends with that, chop, chop, chop. The last man is dead. And I thought that was quite a good ending for the concept of cut down for the earth. The last.
Yeah, definitely.
So it sort of seems to tie it together as a whole. And I mean, obviously, if you know the film The Wicker Man, classic folk horror, there's a great scene in there where Oranges and Lemons is being played whilst they're doing sword dance, and people are ducking in the swords, and it's going, chop, chop, chop. So it's also quite a nice reference to that sort of 70s folk horror style as well, by including it. Although it actually came about completely differently. Conversation on the bus, and I was saying, actually nursery rhymes would be really good, as you say, to adapt, because lots of them are quite
it's very easy to take the spooky off. Yeah.
Absolutely, but a lot of the core story is, people dying of plague or people being executed. And I was sort of thinking about doing, One for Sorrow with the common magpie rhyme. And they're all folk songs. This is just how folk songs survive today, mostly in nursery rhymes, in England anyway. And when we were kind of on the bus, so our local pub was the Bow Bells, which was just opposite our practice studio, and we'd always go to the Bow Bells for a few pints. Then we were on the way back from the bus, and they said, "Oh, what about Oranges and Lemons? Because it's got the Great Bell of Bow." I said, "Well, that's absolutely perfect, because even in our Bandcamp bio, it says, we are formed within the tolling of the Bow Bells." So it's actually a really nice thing that it's a folk song, and it references our kind of connection to London and the area. Which was really nice as well to get that connection in there.
Yeah, definitely. I think because it's one of those ones where I think first when the tracks were actually out of order when I got them, and I had this before O The Wisp, and I was like, oh, this is kind of a fun transition song. And then it was at the end, like, oh, that makes sense. But yeah, the beginning would work really well as an album intro, but also I think with the EP you kind of want to go in straight with what to expect with the band, and I think maybe it's just slightly too long to work as an intro, but as an outro, absolutely, yeah. No, I think you made the right call putting it at the end. Don't have any more notes for that one.
Well, watch this space. If somebody gives us like an hour on stage, maybe we'll stick it in.
Yeah.
And it'll be nice. We're not doing the Ferric thing while we come on.
No, we'll stick it before the encore.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
Come on, I'm very ominous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The opera song has to start with the sound of the chopper.
The chopper, yes.
Yeah. Oh, that would be so good.
It is a really good
I can
song,
picture
really
that
creepy
already.
ending.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't think I've got any more questions for that one or any of the tracks we've heard, but yeah, absolutely love it. I hope you all did as well. I'll put the link where you can pre-save it right in the chat now, as well as where you can follow the band on all their socials. So I guess before we finish, just what is next for the band? What have you got coming up that you'd like to tell us about?
Well, we're playing on the 8th of May at the Fiddler's Elbow, so you can come and see us then. Anyone else want to?
Yeah.
I believe that's on the link tree, so if you click there, you can be able to get the tickets there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can't get your tickets there.
Oh, you can't.
Tickets are only available on the door.
Oh, but you can
RSVP to the event there.
There we are.
This was not our choice.
This is the venue. Apart from the gig, we've basically got like a music video for John Barleycorn coming out in the next few weeks. Once I finish it.
And Kirsty's going to be slow twerking to that in the music video.
Yeah. So there's that. And then, we've just basically more gigs, more songs.
We have got a ton of of new material. Becky
Oh,
is
we've got so much
absolutely a
new material.
workhorse.
I'll have to give a shout out. Like Becky is so prolific when it comes to like new material.
You're gonna be worked to the bone for the next few years.
Got a lot of material to work with. So,
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, yeah, that's absolutely incredible. And if that's the quality of your first EP, I'm very much looking forward to what the next few releases look like after you're already improving on that. So incredible stuff. Right. I was going to do the obligatory where can people find you, but I have put the links. I've put the links in the chat. If you want to direct people specifically to like where you most want them to follow, where's most useful, you can. Just
wherever you get your music.
Yeah.
Right.
We're on all of the platforms.
Oh, we will be tomorrow.
Yes.
Be on all the platforms.
Two songs are on all of the platforms. All of the rest of the songs will be on all of the platforms tomorrow at roundabout lunchtime, whenever Lambda decides to drop it. If you're following us on any social, I'll post as soon as it's live.
Yeah. Fantastic. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on to discuss this. Yeah, absolutely love it. Hopefully, we'll get you up north at some point, and we'll get to see you then. I don't know any promoters, but I'm gonna find out some. I'm sure. I know enough people into this specific niche of music that someone will know a promoter. So I'll definitely try and get you in touch if I find anyone. But yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for coming on the stream.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
It's been great.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.